Hi, good morning, family. How have you been managing over this past week? You know, currently we are living in such uncertain times, and there's so much that has been changing constantly, yeah? Something that happened a month ago, something that happened a week ago is now different again. And, you know, this week we started wearing face masks. Who ever thought that would ever happen? And yet here we are walking around the shopping centres with our face masks. And so things are constantly changing. And in that, there's so much uncertainty. Yeah, there's so much uncertainty as to, you know, what's happening when, you know, is Christmas happening? Is it not? Are weddings happening? Are they not? Is, you know, church camp going ahead? We have, you know, our kids going back to school next term. There's so much uncertainty, and there's all these new cases, and the number of coronaviruses, especially in our state. We thought we were doing really well, and we thought that by this time we possibly would be out of lockdown and free to be, you know, getting on with life, and yet here we are. And so I'm just really wanting to just check and see, how is your heart doing? You know, what's happening on the inside of you during this time? Are you sleeping okay? Are you feeling anxious? Are you nervous? Are you fearful? Are you scared? So what's going on inside of you? And I was speaking to a teacher here, and she was saying that never in all her years of teaching, it's about 20 years I think she's been teaching, that she has never seen so much anxiety in school kids. And there's so much anxiety and anxiousness, and there's so much fear that, you know, kids who normally weren't like that, or they weren't normally, you know, struggling with anxiety, and all of a sudden the anxiety levels are through the roof. You know, the MHA did a survey this last month, and anxiety since January has gone up by 370%. Anxiety screenings in hospitals has gone up by 370%. And so what's that showing me is that people are living without, not having any peace. And yet the Bible, and as Christians, we should not live like that, because the Bible has a lot to say. I mean, that's crazy, 370% increase in anxiety cases. And, you know, anxiety comes in so, you know, in all different forms. And so now we're getting people who are actually becoming crippled, and they, you know, their muscles are, contorting, and they're just really, really struggling in lots of different areas. You know, they're struggling with their breathing, their heart rate. This is all adding additional stress. It's robbing them. And years ago, my favourite movie was Princess Bride, still is. So those of you guys who haven't seen it, watch it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's this wonderful fairy tale, and in it there's towards the end they capture the prince, and they've devised, you know, the evil man has devised a plan on how to suck the life out of him. And so he increases and he sucks out the life out of him, and you hear him, you know, screaming at every, 1 year of life, 2 years of life, and it's getting sucked out of him. And yet this is what anxiety does. It tries to rob us of life. The stress, the pressure, it robs us of our life. And yet that is not what God wants us. He wants us to have a full life. He wants us to be able to live at peace. And the Bible has a lot to say about this. And as Christians, we should know this. And so we know all the Bible verses. We know the verses that say, you know, that we are to live in peace, that He gives us a peace that surpasses all understanding, that it's a gift from the Lord. It's not the peace that the world gives. It's a different kind of peace. Peace is a fruit of the Spirit. We know all this. But yet we don't live it. We don't live that way, you know. And so because we're having sleepless nights, and we see the anxiety levels, we see the fear and the worry and the what if levels, and yet God says, I've got so much to say about this. And so it would be the same as if I were to say to you that I'm going to give you $100 million. I'll give you a check, the lawyer comes, it's all official, you know, here you have $100 million. The problem is you don't know in what bank account, and you have no idea where this money is. So that money really, unless you know how to access it, unless you know how to go to it, unless you're able to withdraw it and be able to live off that, it's absolutely pointless. And yet that is what a lot of the promises, God has given us a Bible full of the promises of God. There's so many wonderful promises here that we need to apply, but we need to, first of all, find them and start living them. Learn, how do I apply this promise? Okay, God, you said this is a promise for me, but how do I apply this promise? How do I walk in this promise? And that's what hopefully this morning I'm going to be sharing with you, and just giving you some tools to be able to walk in that. And so my message this morning is titled, Peace is My Promise. Peace is my promise. And this is the paperwork. This is saying you have access to it. You have access to peace. But it's out there, and you've got to find how to apply it. So many times, even during, and this is something that I have been really and this is something that I have been really working for in my life, where I've been trying to learn how to walk in peace, how to live in peace. I don't want to live in turmoil. And so I've been applying this, and I've been trying this out. And so this morning I am actually going to be sharing with you how to do it. And even during this epidemic, during this time, there have been times when my heart has become unsettled, when my heart has lost its peace. And I've had to recalibrate and go, okay, I need to find my peace, God. What are you saying about these situations? Because I was starting to get a bit frazzled, yeah? And so I know what I'm going to be sharing with you and teaching you this morning is actually something that you're going to be able to apply, and that it works. So, Mark and I have always lived by faith. We've lived by faith in regards to where we've lived, in regards to our ministry, in regards to dealing with people, in regards to our finances, in regards to the cars we drive, into the schools that our kids attend. We have walked in faith this whole time. And there have been times when we have, prayed and it seemed like nothing happened. We have searched and yet we couldn't find anything. We couldn't find the answers that we needed. There were times when we've knocked and yet it felt like the door was shut. But yet, in spite of all that, I know two things that I will guarantee. One, that God is faithful. He is so, so faithful. And two, if he is faithful, then I do not need to worry. And you do not need to worry, because God is faithful. And if you speak to people who are older than us and people who have been walking with Jesus for many, many years, I know that is what they will say. They will say, God is faithful. These circumstances were chaotic. I used to panic over my kids. I used to panic over this, but God is faithful. And so if you can hold on to those things, that God is faithful, and so that you don't need to worry, that's already an amazing place to start. But that is not my message. And so let's have a look at Luke 2:14, because I want to speak about peace, that peace is my promise. And so in Luke 2:14, it says, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill towards men." This is what the angels came proclaiming when Jesus came to earth. They were saying, hey, earth, are we on earth? Are you on earth? Yes, we're all on earth. So that refers to us. And he's saying, hey, we are on earth. Jesus is coming. He is bringing peace with him. He's bringing goodwill and he's bringing peace. That's why he's called the Prince of Peace. And so Jesus came to bring us peace, where there was lots of turmoil, where there was lots of, uneasiness and unsettling, and people had no idea. And he's saying, I am bringing peace with me that I want to give to you. And so he brought peace with him. He died for it. He paid the price. And yet we don't walk in it. And yet there are times when we don't walk in it. And even though there are times where we do walk in it, and we've had glimpses of peace, and we've felt times of peace, how quickly it gets robbed from us. So many times where the enemy just comes. And what he does is really sneaky. What he does, he starts to put pressure. Yeah, pressure from work, pressure from home, pressure from circumstances, pressure from the government, pressure from finances, pressure from health issues. Wherever these pressures come, this pressure starts to come, and it starts to unravel us and our peace. And instead we start looking at the issue, we start looking at the problem, and we start to fall into fear, which leads to to faithlessness, and all of a sudden we don't have faith. But let's turn our Bibles to John 16:33. And he says, "These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world." So this is a statement that Jesus made to his disciples. And so it's not only for them, but it's for all of us who believe. So if you believe, this is for all of us, yeah? And he says, you may have peace. See the word there, may? So it's available. What he's saying is that it's available to you. You may have this. It's available. But just because it's available and just because it's there doesn't mean you're going to get it unless you learn how to find it and learn how to apply it. And so, you may have it, but you have to get the access. Jesus made it available, but unless you know how to access it, you will not be able to walk in it and you will not be able to live in it. And my desire, and I know it's his heart's desire, that we all walk in his peace, because he came with peace. And so this morning I'm going to show you how to get access to it and how to walk in it. According to that verse, who is our peace? It's got it in capitals. It says that in me, in Jesus, in me, he's saying you may have peace. So peace is not found in a partner. It's not found in a job. It's not found in a career. It's not found in your bank account. Oh, I've got peace. I've got all this money. Oh, I've got peace. Peace isn't found there. Peace isn't found in, our corona numbers going down. Oh, now I've got peace of heart because there's only 50 of them instead of 300. That doesn't bring us peace. Peace is found in a person. Peace is found in Jesus. And he says that in me you may have peace. This week there was a TV program, I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, and it was called In the Blink of an Eye. And it was just this tragic story about this family who they sent their 7 kids, all cousins, and they were going, it was a summer's day, it was in just February this year in Sydney, and they were travelling the kids were walking on the footpath all together, going to get ice cream. And a drink driver and a drug-induced driver smashed into these kids and killed 4 of them instantly, 3 siblings and 1 cousin. And the program, it was with Mike Munro on Channel 7, and Mike was just blown away that this family had this peace, that even though there was this terrible tragedy, that they had a peace of heart, and they were Christians who just loved Jesus, and they were saying, we don't want revenge. Yes, the law, will deal with this young man, but, they don't want revenge, and they're at peace. And so it's only been 5 months since they've lost half of their children. They had 6 children, 3 of them died instantly. You would think, how on earth can they function? How on earth? And here they are, and they're not distraught, and they're not wailing, and they're not hysterical. They had this peace about them, about this situation of this tremendous loss. And yet it's because they knew where their kids were. They had an assurance, they had a peace of heart knowing who they belonged to, that they were safe in the arms of Jesus. And what a wonderful testimony. And Mike Munro, the host, was blown away. He's like, I don't get it. He doesn't understand. And we're like, well, no, because it's different to what the world can give us. It's a different kind of peace. And so I love the next bit of this verse. It says, he says, so in me you may have peace, because in the world you will have tribulation. I love how it says, it doesn't say you may have tribulation. In the world you will, it's guaranteed, you will have tribulation. Is anyone trial free? Is anyone troubled free? No, everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. If you are the president, if you're the queen, if you're, royalty, if you're a famous Hollywood actor, if you're, a ridiculously rich person, if you're a poor person, if you're employed, if you're unemployed, if you're young, if you're old, if you're healthy, if you're unhealthy, it doesn't matter. All of us, it says you will have trials and tribulations. And I love how it's so matter of fact, isn't it, how Jesus says that. So you will have tribulations. And we're like, yeah, we all know that. We've all experienced that, haven't we? All of us. People let us down. People will, rob you, cheat you, People will hurt you. They'll say nasty things about you. There'll be relationships that will be, torn apart and broken down and strains, relationship strains. And yet God is telling us, yeah, but I still want you to love those people. Yeah, I still want you to love them. And we're like, what? Yeah. And then Jesus says something even more crazy. He says, in this world you will have problems. You will have problems. But be of good cheer. And you're like, what? I'm like, what? What do you mean, be of good cheer? He's saying, I'm going, hold on, you want me to be of good cheer even though my husband's misbehaving? My husband is not nice. My husband is giving me a hard time. My kids seem to be going off the rails. You want me to be of good cheer even though it looks like I'm losing my job next week? You want me to be of good cheer even though my car's broken down and I have no way of getting around? You want me to be of good cheer even though all these other circumstances? And God says, yes. I want you to be of good cheer. I want you to have the right attitude and I want you to cheer up. Why? Because he's saying, because I have overcome the world. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, because I have overcome the world. And so as we read this and we read to the end, we know how it ends. He has overcome the world. Jesus has overcome coronavirus. That's nothing new to him. He has overcome the unemployment rate. He has overcome everything, every other trial, the sickness, hopelessness. He has, fear. He has overcome it all. And we know we win. At the end, we are on the winning team. And so there's no need to worry because we know how it ends. And it's awesome news. And I'm going to give you another verse, which is in John 14:27. And this is Jesus speaking once again, and he says, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. So he's saying, don't let your heart be troubled. Yeah. He's saying, as I give you my peace, don't let your heart, and when he refers to your heart, he's referring to your soul, your mind, your will, your emotion. Yeah, don't let any of these areas be troubled. Don't let any of these areas be afraid. You have all these things coming at you. And he's saying, hey, Jesus is saying, I've overcome that. I've given you a peace that's unlike anything that the world can give you. I've given you a peace that will surpass this false temporary sense of security and peace that you may think you have. I've overcome that. So don't let your heart be troubled and don't fall into fear, because I've overcome it. I've already seen what's happening after this. I already know how this ends. And so who doesn't want to live like that? Me. I want to live like that. That's a great way to live. So if you are troubled, or if you are afraid, if you are walking in fear, it's because you don't have faith. And if you do not have faith, you will never have peace. Never. And it's because you're concentrating more on the fear than you are on God. You're concentrating more on the circumstances and on the natural things than on the spiritual. And yet God is saying, he doesn't want us to be afraid. He wants us to be of good cheer. But watch it that you don't fall into fear, because fear will take away your peace that he has given you and he's wanting to give you and that he has promised to give you. In Matthew 8, there's a story that everyone's very well familiar with, and it's the story of when the storm arose and Jesus is sleeping in the boat with his disciples, and the disciples, all of a sudden, the chaos of what's going on around them, they start panicking, fear starts to set in, and then faithlessness comes. And, they come and wake Jesus up, and Jesus, the words that he says to them, why are you afraid, you men of little faith? So he's saying, you have no faith. Why are you afraid? Yeah, and then I love the way he tackles the storm. He says this. He says to the storm, peace, be still. He could have said to the storm, storm, winds, waves, hey, stop. He could have said that. But I believe he said, peace, be still, because peace is given first before the storms in your life can be still. Peace comes from the inside before the storms around us are still. Yeah. I can't control the storm that's going on around outside. I can't control the epidemic. I can't control the face mask shortage. I can't control the toilet paper issue. But I can control the storm that's brewing inside me. I can control what's happening inside of me in here. Before you can control the storms on the outside, you must control the storm on the inside. Yeah, and so that is, the disciples failed to do this. And we will many times fail to do this when we'll see things and we'll start to, panic and fear and fall into faithlessness. But Jesus is saying, what is going on the inside? Check what is happening on the inside. I've given you control over the inside of what's happening in you. And so Romans 8:28, very well-known verse, and he says, we all know that God causes everything for good together. We all know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. See, in bold letters it says, we all know. So as Christians, we all know that God works for everything for good. So if we all know that, then we shouldn't be complaining. We shouldn't be worrying. Why? Because all things work together. All things work together. Do you know that all things, that even this thing, God is going to turn it around and he's going to bring it for good? Do you believe that? And not only do you know it up here, do you know it? Where it's saying, as Christians, do you know that all things work together for good? And so all this rubbish stuff, God is going to turn it around. God will take it and make something good out of it. God will take the worst things and make it the best thing. Do you believe that? Do you know that with all your heart? Are you convinced of that? Is that a truth? Is that a promise that you are convinced of? This week, during our church devotional, we're up to day 208 today. So this is it. If you've been a little bit slack, pick it up, start at today's date, which is 208. It has been blessing so many of us. And I know that even in our Bible class and in our life group, so many people have been really, really touched. It's Bill Johnson's Life of Miracles. So you can order it if you don't have one from Koorong. Otherwise, you can... we do have it online on Facebook. It's under 2020 Church Devotional, so you can sign up to that. But there was a verse that just absolutely blessed me. And this week, as I read it, I'm like, yes, that is what I'm doing. That is how I'm living. This makes sense. This is, almost like a life verse of mine. And so I really encourage you, we're going to look at that verse, and then I'm going to give you the 2 tips on how to walk in this peace. Do you want it? So the 2 tips. So Isaiah, it's found in Isaiah 26 verse 3. And so I know that as you apply this into your life, it doesn't matter what circumstance. It doesn't matter what's going on with your husband. It doesn't matter what doctor's report. It doesn't matter what's going on with your kids. It doesn't matter what's happening at the school. I know that as you apply this, that it will work in all those situations. Yeah. And so the verse, Isaiah 26:3. You will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you, whose thoughts are fixed on you. Just a small little verse, and yet there's so much power in this. You will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you, whose thoughts are fixed on you. It starts with a capital Y, you. So it's talking about God. So someone is saying this about God. He's saying, God will give you perfect peace. That's the peace I want. I don't just want ordinary peace. I don't want peace that's just here one day and gone the next. I want perfect peace. That peace that only he can give. That's the sort of peace I want. Because I know that if I get perfect, complete, total, blissful peace, I know that that leads to perfect rest, to total rest. Who wants total rest? Me. Yeah, total rest, total peace, where you can just go to sleep and be okay. Yeah, you can just go to sleep and sleep like a baby. Yeah, and just sleep solidly. Oh, who doesn't want that? So when troubles come, the problem why a lot of times when troubles come, we see a storm, you see a storm, and you see all those circumstances. You see the storm more than you see God. And that develops into fear, and it becomes faithlessness. But let's have a look at this verse and let's unpack it. And if we kind of work backwards, I'm just going to put it this way. It says, because I trust God, my mind stays on him and he gives me perfect peace. And then the storm I am facing becomes still. When your mind stays on him because you trust in God, then the storm is won right there. You will win that storm as your mind stays on him, trusts on him. You have won the storm. Now, whether that's instantaneously, because the peace comes, whether it's instantaneously or whether it takes a month or 3 months to unravel, you have already won it there. And so the two keys that I'm giving you today is this: trust and focus. If I trust in him and I focus on him, I trust in him and I focus on him, it brings me into perfect peace. That's what he's saying. It brings me. So this is super, super easy to remember, isn't it? Anyone can do it. Little kids could do it. Trust and focus leads to perfect peace. If I want perfect peace, I need to trust and focus. Yeah? And this is a promise that he's giving us. He's giving us this promise. If I trust in him, and he said that he has this, he says, hey, Kaz, I've got this. Then all I need to do is put all my attention on him, trust that what he said, he is faithful, it is true, I'm trusting, and then I put all my attention, so I don't focus on on the issue, I don't focus on the storm, I'm focusing on him, and perfect peace comes. And then in this verse, it says, let me just flick it back. If you do these things, it says you will have perfect peace. See, you will keep in perfect peace. So you will have perfect peace if you do these things. If you trust and focus. So that means that peace is mine in all situations. I can have peace in every situation, regardless of what it is. I can have peace. And so I just want to end this morning with actually practicing this. Yeah? Because we've heard it, we've read the verses, we're going, what is it? Trust and focus. Trust and focus leads to perfect peace. I want peace, I need to trust and focus. And so how do we do that? And so I'm just going to walk you through this for the next minute. And so I want us to start practicing that right now. So what I want everyone to do, yes, at home, I can see you. I feel like Romper Room. Remember Miss Helena? She used to have this mirror that she used to see people through it. And she was on TV, and I thought it was real. I said, I hope she says, because she would say names. Hi, I see Nancy, and I see Kaz, and I'll be like, say my name. And so, yes, close your eyes, because we don't want to just be listening to a message and go, yeah, that was great, yay, I want the peace of the Lord, and then not do anything about it. I want you guys to actually grasp this, and I want you to start walking in it and living in it, because that is what God wants us to do. So I want you to close your eyes for a minute and start thinking about one of those storms that's swirling around you. What's going on in your world that's unsettling you, that's unraveling you, that's causing you not to have a peace of heart, that's causing you a bit of anxiety. Think of that problem, and now I want you to start trusting in him. Start trusting in God, saying, God, you said that I can trust you with this. You said that you're going to turn all things around, all these situations, that you're going to turn them around for my good. You said you're going to be my provider. You said you're not going to let me go without lack. You said that you're going to protect me. You said you'll never leave me. So I'm trusting on your word. So as you're trusting him, Now you start focusing and just focusing on Jesus. What is Jesus doing about this? Focusing that Jesus is the answer. See him as the head of everything over that situation. He's over it. He's working through it. What are you saying about this? How are you reacting to this? What is he showing you? Trust and focus. And now I can see a lot of you, did a lot of you just go like, and your shoulders just dropped and you just got this smile on your face because peace has come to your heart. Peace has come to your heart. And as that peace comes, it's like, yep, it is well. It is well with my soul. I'm not threatened. I am not worried. I'm not anxious. My heart's not racing. It's at peace. And yet, I know some of you guys might be struggling with this. And it's only because you're either struggling to trust him, you're struggling to let go of the control that you guys have. But so you're on a journey. Your heart has been trained to look at the problem rather than God. And you can train yourself by trust and focus. Yeah, trusting and focusing him. So now as we end today's service, we're just going to end with a final song, which is one of my all-time favourite hymns, and I grew up singing it as a little girl. And yeah, it's a hymn that I'm sure many of you will know, and it's called It Is Well With My Soul. And I love this because this is a song that really just says that even though everything else is swirling around me, even though there's all this unrest, that I can say it is well. It is okay with my soul. My soul is at peace. And not only at peace, at perfect peace. That amazing peace that only comes from God. And so as you listen to the song, just spend some time focusing, trusting. Yeah, God, what else is brewing on inside me? What else is unsettling me that I need to trust in you and I need to focus on you? And as that peace comes, then just thank him. So just through this song, may it just really bless your hearts and have an amazing week. And I really look forward to just hearing that you are all walking in this amazing peace that comes from him. So God bless you. Love you guys. Bye.
When peace like a river tendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul, and it is well, it is well with my soul. Though Satan should buffet, though trials should come, let this blessed assurance control that Christ has regarded my helpless estate and has of this glorious thought. My sin not in part, but in whole is nailed to the cross, and I bear it no more. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, oh my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul, with my soul. And it is well, oh, it is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when the faith shall be sight, the clouds be rolled back as a scroll, the trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul, with my soul. And it is well, oh, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. Sing it out, yeah. And it is well, oh, it is well with my soul. It is well, oh Lord, with my soul, with my soul. And it is well, oh, it is well with my soul. Is well with my soul, and it is well.